Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's that time of the week where, as always, we get to take a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, we're going to start off with an exclusive, newest version of our Hinderer exclusive version of the XM24 with the Harpoon Spanto blade shape. And these come in right now about $635 for these guys. They've been going pretty quickly though, so we are filming this earlier in the week per usual, so they may or may not still be in stock by the time Thursday rolls around and we post this video, but in any case, we still get a chance to take a look at it here. It is the XM24, you know it, you love it. 4-inch blade, 20 CV steel on these guys, and we're pairing that with a orange and black G10 and a battle black finish front and back on these guys. Really nice, you get that stone-washed look over the darkened texture or the darkened tone. But the G10 on these guys especially is I think my favorite part. And each one's a little bit different. You can see we've got kind of a diamond checker pattern going on, but the black lines are stronger in some areas than in others. And like I said, each one's a little bit different. This one has some stronger black lines here towards the back of the handle. You may see the one we have photoed on the website. It's a little stronger here in the center. It's kind of neat. Really cool little differentiation for those. As far as the texture, it's not too aggressive. It's not real sharp, but it does give you that extra texture there, a little bit more surface area to grab onto. Plenty of handle length to grab onto as well, for that matter, even without using that forward finger choil. Even large-handed folks are going to have no problem getting a solid grip on this knife. Blades on these point down a little bit, so you can point them very intuitively, orient that tip where you need it to go, and you've got a nice powerful shape, good enough thickness with a stout enough grind that's going to slice well, but you're really going to be able to power through some cuts with this guy. We've also got the tri-way pivot. You can see the logo for it there on the flipper tab. And then just to keep things subtle, we have the KnifeCenter fan logo of our 6 blades there on the front side. I think it looks really cool right there. But being the tri-way pivot, you've got ball bearings installed, but you've also got extra washer options in the box if you want to swap those out for a different feel, or if you like the washers for a little bit more dust resistance and kind of cleanliness than the ball bearings. All right, next up we've got a restock of probably one of Spyderco's most popular releases last year, the new lightweight version of the Para 3 with their new proprietary Spy 27 particle blade steel made for them by Crucible. And I think they definitely underestimated the demand for this knife. We finally got enough to kind of work through our back orders and actually have some on the shelves to take a look at. This is the first time we've had an opportunity to show them to you guys in a new knives video, so even though it's been quite a bit since they've been officially released, we'll still take a look at it right now. Come in about 140 bucks. You've got that Spy 27 steel, which it's a premium level steel. It should probably get you at least some edge retention on par with stuff like the S35s and S30s of the world, maybe a little bit better, but definitely a high performing steel. It's not a budget steel by any stretch of the imagination. I may be able to report back a little bit more after I've used one of these for a while. I picked one of these up for myself finally as well, because for me this is kind of a really nicely designed city knife for me, in that the Para 3 has that blade length just under 3 inches. It, like that Hinderer, points down a little bit. It's going to point forwards very intuitively. It's got that full flat grind for good slicing characteristics, just an all-around really good EDC. And then for me, that 3-inch length is going to be an important factor in certain situations. You've got this cobalt blue handle, which cobalt is one of the primary, or one of the kind of defining elements in that Spy 27 steel. So with that cobalt blue color, it ties in that way, and it's also a little softer than just another black handled knife, which I'm kind of tired of after a while. Like to see something a little bit more. So this still has a little bit of color, but it's still kind of subtle, so it's not too garish or anything like that. And then you've got that excellent wire deep carry pocket clip. Looks nice and classy from outside the pocket, and nice and unobtrusive as well. Plenty of texture on that FRN as well, but the place where that pocket clip sits, it's a nice flat spot, so it's not going to be a real pocket shredder in that regard. Just really great. You've got the compression lock. You can keep your fingers out of the path of the blade when you're closing it. Very cool. and you can finally get your hands on one. All right, next up we've got some new Balisong trainers. This is the Glidr Original 4. Bunch of different colors. This is the Dragon Purple, and these guys come in about $155. These have definitely been quite popular in terms of some of the more in-demand trainers out there. Again, we've got a fair number today on the day we're filming, but by the time this goes up, things might be getting a little scarce. So if you've been looking for one of these, been waiting for one of these, make sure to click that link as soon as you can. The handles are aluminum. They're channel milled construction, so integral to us normal knife folks. That's kind of mean. We're all knife folks, whether...
Right, yeah. Knife folks are just knife folks.
I agree completely. But anyway, it is an integral or channel milled construction. Nice and smooth. All the edges are kind of rolled over, so there's no sharpness there. But with that square construction, it's going to help with indexing the handles a little bit. Speaking of indexing those handles, no latch on this guy, so you are going to have to keep track of the safe handle and the bite handle. Although in this case, being a trainer, you don't have any edge to worry about, so that minimizes the risk a little bit. Got a nice crowned spine on that trainer blade. The edge side, which doesn't have an edge, is not crowned, so there is going to be a slight difference in feel in that regard. But they're super smooth and super loud, so I shouldn't flip them while I'm talking. They feel really good. I'm not a good Bally flipper by any stretch of the imagination, but I can tell good feel when it's there, and this guy certainly has it. All right, next few knives, we'll show some of the more affordable stuff here on the top half of the video for you folks. New Kershaw, the Highball XL, coming in about $55. And this one I think is my favorite of the new 2020 Kershaws, at least so far. They sent us some samples for our Not SHOT Show interview earlier this year, and this was definitely one of the standouts for me. This is obviously with the Highball XL, it's a different version of the original Highball, which price on that guy is about $10 cheaper, about $45. But as you can see, they, let me see if I can hold this in a way where I don't cover up the handles at all. Change things up a little bit in the blade shape and the handle, as well as kind of sizing it up a little bit too. And the original Highball, it's a fine knife. It's got some really good materials going on, but it never really caught my eye the same way this Highball XL does. The proportions are right. I love this clip point blade shape. It's nice and broad, feels like it's gonna work very well. It's about 3.3 inches. We've got D2 steel with a bead blasted finish in this case, and we've got IKBS ball bearings in the pivot on this knife, which is a stainless steel handle with a frame lock there on the back. Now, ostensibly, this is a two-hand opener, but thanks to those ball bearings and thanks to this, essentially this milled out channel here, it's essentially a long fuller on either side, you can do more than just a nice, smooth two-hand open. You can use that fuller as a thumb opening ramp or a thumb opening track, so to speak. Rotate it open quite nicely. You can do the middle finger flick pretty well. You guys know I stink at that on a normal day. There we go, that's a little better. Finger positioning was a little bit off, but you can do that quite easily. You can even grip the blade and kind of let the handle fall where it will. Kind of fidgety for not being a flipper, or being marketed at least as a two-handed opener. Very nice. It's also a good sized package, good sized handle to the blade. It's not a big bulky thing. Despite having 3.3 inches of steel, this is going to fold up into a very easy package to carry with you day to day. Deep carry pocket clip there, which is reversible in this case. That wasn't the case with that original Highball, so that's a nice little added feature there as well. All right, next up we've got a new Bestech design, the Swift. Bunch of different colors. Here are just two of them, and these guys are priced pretty well too, coming in about $63. We've also got D2 steel on these, about 3.5 inches, a little bit longer than that Highball. And materials-wise, there's some G10s and some micartas. I've got one of each here to show you. This black G10, we've got a nice red backspacer there, where on this green micarta version, we've got a black backspacer. But there's a few other colors. There's both natural and black micartas available. And they're calling it gray, but there's a kind of a bluish gray G10 that I think looks really good as well. Blade itself has a nice slicing profile to it, continuous belly here with that trailing point, almost a full flat grind. Yeah, it's ready to pull off some long slicing cuts very nicely. We've also got a swedge here, but it's a little bit different than most in that it's not a flat ground swedge. It's kind of a very abrupt and very deep hollow grind here right behind the edge. Creates a little bit of a different look than most swedges, while still trying to remove a bit of that drag from the spine area. The handles there are plenty big, lots of room to grab onto for sure, and not so much a choil for choking up in front, but you do have a bit of a, on the front of the flipper there is a little bit of space where you could use the tab itself to kind of manipulate the blade for some finer control if you wanted to. Fairly deep carry pocket clip on this guy, liner lock with dual liners there and ball bearings in the pivot, which means we've got really good action. May not be like the budgetiest of budget knives out there, but at the price that these come, you are getting a good deal of performance and a good deal of size on your knife for the money. All right, next up, we've got a couple of new K-Bar TDI knives. We've got a new Space Force variant, and we've got the new Ladyfinger, which I'll get to in just a second. But the Space Force version of this TDI knife is called the Astro MP. Comes with the 2.3-inch blade, AUS 8, and these guys come in at $43 right now. And with that, you're getting this very distinctive Space Force coloration. Goes a long way to kind of softening the image of what is a last-ditch or self-defense knife overall. The handles themselves are this blue Zytel. Nice elliptical shape to it, so even if you do have bigger hands, again, kind of a theme we're seeing with a few of these knives, you are going to be able to hold onto that fairly well, even if your pinky finger tends to drop off, which I'm getting kind of a 3.5 finger grip myself on this guy. Feels nice and solid though. And of course, being the classic TDI canted angle here, as soon as you extend your arm, that point is going out. It really helps with folks who may not be as trained up in knife uses for self-defense. It's just going to be a very intuitive tool to use for that kind of scenario. Plus, good shape for an EDC blade, and you'd certainly be able to manipulate it really well for opening boxes, doing that sort of thing, package opening, breaking down cardboard, any of those just types of general small daily EDC tasks, thanks to this drop point shape. Nice thin stock with a nice hollow grind as well to keep the edge nice and thin. Gonna be a pretty good cutter. For the sheath, we've got this gray plastic essentially. It's not Kydex, but it does hold it in there quite nicely. And it comes with kind of a J-hook style of clip here. So you can clip that to your belt and have this cross draw wherever you need so that you can grab this and have it at the ready. And one of the nice things about the design of the sheath is it doesn't restrict your access to the handle. As soon as you pull it, you don't have to adjust your grip. It's ready to go right out of the sheath. If you're not a big fan of that particular attachment method, you could throw a tech lock on here. The small size will fit this particular hole pattern. Next up is the Ladyfinger TDI, or the TDI Ladyfinger. Comes in at $36. Materials are pretty similar, but the blade here is just under 2 inches in length. But still a good kind of small utility blade if you wanted to use this for daily tasks. There is less handle to grab onto in this case, and it's a little more kind of purposefully curved in this case. Holds the knife out at a very similar angle, and you might get a little bit more of the ability to kind of manipulate the tip of that knife by using, in my case, my pinky on the tail end of that handle. Kind of fits there really nicely, and it allows you to kind of twist that around. If you're doing some of those fine detail jobs, if you're using this as an EDC, that can actually be a pretty nice thing. Again, same kind of style or same kind of story here. We've got nice thin steel, AUS 8 I believe I mentioned, and that hollow grind. Good for those small tasks and still points forward quite naturally. Zytel handles. The sheath on this guy is a little bit more low profile. And what's interesting is you can stick it in from either side, and it's ambidextrous to boot. So that works, and then you can flip it around, stick it in the other side of the sheath. So if you can't find a position where this works for you, I'd be pretty surprised. Similar style of clip in terms of it's bolted on. You've got that J-hook style, but tech lock is an option. Interestingly enough, the large tech lock is the size that's going to work with this particular sheath, even though it's the smaller knife. Go figure. But anyway, pretty cool knife. Glad to have them in stock. All right, next up, we're going to kind of start stepping up the price ladder a bit with another fixed blade. A lot of fixed blades on the table today, actually, which makes me very happy. The new GiantMouse GMF3, and these guys come in about $195. Now, these are modeled after a traditional dagger from Eastern Europe, and has a very distinct blade, or a very distinct handle shape here, as you can see. And I gotta be honest, I was fully prepared and expecting to hate this handle. I was, I was hoping or ready to just not like it. But I'm not so sure. Kind of gripping it in my hand, I was fully expecting this tail end here to be a hot spot to kind of dig in. But because it's small, because of the shape of it, it's more designed for fine control in this case. It may change when I actually get it out there and actually put some work on it, but it doesn't feel when I squeeze like it's digging in anywhere on me. Kind of interesting. It could have something to do with, as it sits in my palm there, the part of my hand that's really hugging the contours of the handle are down here, and naturally the front part, I'm not good with my anatomy, but the front part of my palm here on the front two fingers is kind of naturally pulling away anyway, so I'm not digging down onto that point. I don't know.
I mean, it works.
There's something about it. So I'm not here to bury this knife because of the handle shape. I just gotta say, maybe trust me a little bit on this one, I guess. I don't know. In any case, it's a very distinctive shape and is going to make a pretty cool EDC fixed blade, I think. The sheath it comes with isn't a pocket sheath per se, but it is a fairly subtle sheath. It's not, it doesn't have a tapering end, so it doesn't really, it almost doesn't feel like a knife sheath. It's kind of classy. I hesitate to almost say it, but almost hipstery in a way. But it's going to work quite well. Should be fairly ambidextrous too. Italian-made sheath for this Italian-made knife. And I guess I should have trusted the designers on this one. Jens Anso and Jesper Vaknes. They do know what they're doing in general, so maybe they know what they're doing here. Blade length, 3 1/4 inches, N690 steel. We've got two versions. We've got this black stone-washed, which is paired with a natural micarta handle, and you've got a satin finish paired with green micarta. Now the spine of the knife and the tang all the way around actually is crowned over, so it's nice and comfortable, especially when you're doing any kind of choking up. You even got a little point of jimping there for your index finger for certain types of cuts while you're using it that way. The handles themselves also kept fairly thin, bolt-on scales, not too thick. Again, this is more of a tool for fine manipulation rather than brute strength. I dare say it's probably going to work pretty well. All right, next up, another fixed blade, you guys. It's the SOG Kiku fixed blade, more premium, or another premium fixed blade coming in about $250 right now. Blade here, S35 VN, just over 4 inches of it, with a compact handle made out of micarta. Pretty complex or sophisticated handle shape actually going on. It does fit into my hand quite nicely. You've got some swell here near the back, so again, not an anatomist, but the ball of your palm or whatever you want to call it has a good section to grab onto, and you've got a kind of a channel in the center on each side, which is it helps with your fingers. It gives you a good place to wrap around, a good place to index. My fingertips fit onto there quite nicely when I'm doing a typical saber type of grip with this knife. They've definitely got tactical uses in mind due to the way it angles the blade, thanks to that recurve there as well. Like I said, S35 VN, fairly thick. It's about 3/16 of an inch thick, so you've got a lot of sturdiness, a lot of toughness, or a lot more toughness thanks to that thickness than you would otherwise get with this steel. It's built to take a beating, but still hold its edge quite nicely. You've also got that point there at the back. It is rounded, but it is going to enable you to concentrate your force a little bit on that protruding tang. And the knife feels pretty good in a reverse grip as well, too. I say this spoken as a complete novice in terms of applied tactical knife usage, but it does feel pretty good anyway. If you want to use this as a utility knife, I think it's going to be quite useful. The point's going to be very usable, and the recurve section here is going to give you a lot of kind of shearing power on the draw cuts especially, and that, of course, will also give you a little bit of extra edge in this given length. And I'll keep things moving here. Sheath, we've got Kydex with a nice Tech-Lock style attachment already installed, so you've got plenty of options, whether it's horizontal like this, vertical, standard carry, inverted, you name it. If you can put your Tech-Lock in there, pretty much any configuration you need. All right, next up from my people in Norway, we've got a new limited edition Helle. This is the Morgon, which translates to morning. This guy comes with a nice traditional leather sheath as well, with a small loop here at the end. It's not quite a dangler, but that is rotatable as well, which is quite nice. And these guys come in 174 right now. Blade here, we've got about 4¼ inches, very nice subtle clip point shape. It's almost trailing point, or it has kind of suggests a trailing point style, but it's very subtle. I really like that. Scandi grind, of course, as well. High polished finish, and they're using their triple laminated 12C27 here to really nice effect. The handle on these are brown oak with some, I believe they're leather spacers actually, interspersed here quite nicely, and that yellow look to them as well has a pretty cool effect going on. It's not a huge handle. I've got slightly larger than average hands myself, and I am kind of maxing out the handle here. I may be even moving a little bit past the leading edge of that very rudimentary finger guard in this case, but it still feels comfortable thanks to that stick tang construction and this completely rounded over style of shape here. Nothing sticking out, nothing abrupt, feels very nice. But speaking of very nice, we've got to come to this very next knife. It's a Walter Brend. This is a handmade 7-inch dagger from him. Comes in about $2,600 right now. And I just relish the opportunity every time I get to hold a Walter Brend. It's truly a special thing. He does all of this by hand, including this very precise and very dramatic double-edged grind on this bad boy. CPM 154 steel, micarta handles. It's a green micarta that's verges on the turquoise. It's pretty vibrant for a micarta, which is pretty cool. And everything is it just feels so perfect. The lines here on the front of the guard, the lines melding from the tang to the underside of the guard, the polished finish, maybe not high polished finish, maybe a high satin finish on the micarta itself. I'm kind of speechless here, you guys. This is one of those very special things that it makes me really glad I work here, because I would never be able to afford one of these, certainly, but at least I can take a look at it and share it with you guys as well. Sheath on this guy is leather. I'm gonna put that knife down here very carefully. Black leather, stitched together real nicely. You've got a nice thick welt. He left the sueded side on the back, so it's maybe a little softer if you're carrying it. And something I haven't really seen before with this kind of rubber ring as a retention loop here at the top. But because of the kind of cutout nature of this flap he left here, you can actually remove that if you don't want, or replace it if it winds up getting broken sometime down the line. Pretty cool little innovation there, I think. All right, next up, a couple more fancy folders. We had a fairly big batch of William Henry a week or two ago. Maybe it was 3. I only showed 1 out of that, so I'm gonna show a few more now. This one right here is very nice. This is a Kestrel Deluge model, coming in about $13.75. As with most William Henrys, these things are all about fine art and finely made and adorned beautiful pieces. The handles here, we've got a 10,000-year-old fossilized mammoth bark on these guys. Looks very cool. And hand-etched or hand-detailed sterling silver bolsters here. Is that right? Yes, that is right. Impressive. Gemstones, of course, in the button lock and the thumb stud. Damascus blade, and this actually has a ZDP 189 core. So even though this guy comes in just over 2 inches, you're gonna get a lot of edge retention out of that 2 inches with that particular steel. This is not so much a button lock flicker, it's a little bit more deliberate. You don't want to go like flinging your jewelry-like knife around, but just a very cool gentleman's piece and very distinctive. We've also got amongst our new batch a Lancet model. This is a Stars and Stripes variant, is what they're calling it. 2.75 inch blade on this guy, and it's a Norris Hornet's Nest Damascus. It's kind of a new one to me. Nice slender profile, fine tip. Again, another great gentleman's knife profile, especially when it's adorned such as this. Again, we've got hand-carved sterling silver handles with the integrated bolster there. And for the inlays on this, they're calling it a zinc matrix turquoise, which I'm pretty sure is a reconstituted stone product, but it allows them to get kind of that those veins of silver, or zinc in this case, through there. I've seen this done with some gold veins as well. It looks really cool. But the silver, I think, is definitely the way to go next to the other materials choices in these. just one of those really just stunning pieces overall. Price on this guy, $19.50, close to $2,000 on this guy. So way more expensive than Thomas's truck, and a lot fancier though to boot. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, I'll cop to that.
Very cool, you guys. Check those out. We'll leave a link to our whole William Henry selection down below. Gotta love it. We're gonna end this week with a couple sharpeners. First, we've got another item from K-Bar. Simple carbide pull-through sharpener, but you've got kind of that classic K-Bar stacked leather look, even though this is all just a injection molded handle here. These guys come in about 19 bucks. It is a flat section here on the back. You can actually remove this to get to those carbide cutters, but it'll sit fairly flat on a surface so you can stabilize that very nicely as you draw the edge through those carbides. Again, this is more for rudimentary edge restoration, maybe out in the field, especially if you do it, with a very light touch. I wouldn't, kind of saw away with one of these things. But those are nice to have for some folks out there. If you want more control over your edge, though, last week actually was the launch of the second generation of the original Work Sharp knife and tool sharpener, the electric knife and tool sharpener Mark II, which comes in about 80 bucks right now. Now, an important thing to note, this is an upgrade of the original, not the Ken Onion unit. There was kind of a little bit of confusion a few times when we've posted about this, where people thought they were replacing the Ken Onion version with this. That's not the case. The Ken Onion version still exists. It still has even more features than this and more capabilities, but the base unit itself now sees some very nice upgrades, and the price is only about 10 bucks more than the old version, which has been that same price for pretty much ever since it was introduced. Maybe like, 10 years ago, something like that? Were they 2009? I don't remember.
But the link in the corner to see their original video.
There you go. So the fact that they've kept that at a really nice price for a long time, for the upgrades you're getting here for just 10 bucks more, I think is really nice. Biggest upgrade, dual speeds on this guy. It still has the faster speed of the original, which will go really quickly, but for a lot of folks, myself included, one of the biggest reasons to upgrade to the Ken Onion version is you can slow it down from the really speedy section and really take care with your edge, be really, really precise and really deliberate. And that's why I would always push people towards that Ken Onion before, because you didn't get the adjustable speed on the base model, but some folks didn't want to spend that amount of money. So I'm really glad to see it on this guy here. You've got the two speeds controlled by the switch here, and you've got a momentary on switch here at the bottom. But you simply, this is reversed, I'm sorry. You place it on there, pull it, do your normal sharpening through this. We'll leave a link to our, we did a Ken Onion demo at one point. The principles are the same with this particular guy. You've got a range of belts going on. Two different degrees here to sharpen. You've got a 25 degree per side, which they recommend for pocket knives, and a 20 degree per side, which they're recommending for kitchen knives. I would say click that switch up and put these guides at the 20 degree for pretty much anything. Even on a EDC pocket knife, 20 degrees is going to be plenty good. You don't want to go too much more obtuse than that. Now you can also take these angle guides off, go freehand if you want. Angle this guy forward as well, so you can use it as a tool grinder, sharpening axes, maybe some longer machetes. If you clamp the machete down, go over it with this tool sharpener. Really nice. Built here, I believe these are still built in the USA. Yes, they are, which is quite nice. Priced really well, very versatile. Very happy to see some really nice upgrades to this device. And that is it for today. Hope you like the stuff here. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you did or didn't like. In the meantime, if you want to get your hands on any of these guys, we will leave links in the description as always. While you're over at the Knife Center, make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program as well, because if you're going to spend your money on one of these knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.